this past Sharing the Dharma Day, Venerable Chodron was speaking about unhelpful mental habits that we have and calling them friends who give bad advice. And so I had one of these mental habits come up in my mind for the past several days, and it was one that I hadn't seen in a little while, and so I was a bit surprised, and it caught me off guard, I think, especially the strength of it. So this is the mind of resistance, especially in the context of meditation. So I dealt with this many years ago, and it's still around. So I thought to really explore what this is and how it affects my mind. And so first I was trying to figure out, well, what is it? What does it feel like to have resistance? And I was thinking, well, the mind's uncooperative. It stops. It doesn't want to move anywhere. It's hard, it's rigid, despondent, discouraged. There's a sense of being blanked out, spaced out, checked out. It's closed and unresponsive. And what came to mind is a time when I was, I think it was just with my mom walking our dog. And we were on a very long walk around a lake. And I think about halfway through the walk, the dog just sat down. Just laid down in the middle of the trail and would not budge. I was like, that's exactly what this mind is. It's the dog that just lies down. And then I was also thinking, it's kind of like a dam. There's so many thoughts running around, but they all kind of come together and they form this very solid wall that is very difficult to penetrate. And so I was thinking about, okay, well, what is the mental factor? And so there wasn't just one. It seems like these mental factors come in clusters. They come in a gang. So the gang included dullness, laziness, non-introspective awareness, and unconscientiousness. So a whole host of non-virtue. And then I was thinking, well, why is this coming up? So I thought, well, it comes up when I'm exhausted, either physically or mentally, but I think especially when I'm exhausted due to the afflictions running in my mind. And it also comes up when I'm engaged in a practice that I don't understand, or when I haven't really thought about the benefits of it. I'm just sort of going through the motions, just doing it rote. It comes about when I'm just going through recitations without going into their meaning, not really penetrating them, but just going through the motions. I also noticed that I was on this kind of kick of, okay, I'm going to plan out all these meditation sessions. This is what I'm going to do this day. This is what I'm going to do this day. And that's not how the mind functions. I want to approach my mind with some curiosity and receptivity to what's arising. And so to apply the appropriate medicine, not have this like schedule of medicines that I think will work. That doesn't work. And there's also my old friends of pushing and shoulding. So that's why I think this came up. And then I was thinking, well, okay, so the solution is not to go to the other extreme. So I can go slower, but I don't want to fall to doing nothing, because that's what this mind does. It sort of blanks out. So I don't want to follow that. I want to stay engaged in some way. I also don't want to just throw out everything, like throw out the structure for my meditation, throw out all of the topics that I had intended to meditate on. But I want to set them maybe aside for some time and really work on nourishing myself and the mind. And I don't want to pamper myself, but I want to be kind to myself. And so in these past several days and over many sessions, I found some techniques that have worked. One is just breathe. Just focus on the breath until the mind is settled. And that's like the first instruction that we hear. It's like, okay, so why don't I just do that? And it might be that I'm focusing on the breath a little longer than normal. That's perfectly fine. That's what the mind needs. So just do that. And then I found that then the mind, there was some receptivity. I could actually start to approach the mind and start working with it. The other question I've often asked myself, which has been helpful again and again, is what would nourish me right now? So in meditation, trying to figure out, the topic that would bring some soothing to the mind. And I found that metta meditation to be really helpful in that regard. The other thing that I've been trying to do is really see like the abbreviated recitations that we do. See those as kind of guidepost, signpost, and direct my mind towards the state that is kind of expressed in those prayers. And again, this is what has been taught, but coming to it in my own way, and to not just go through the prayers, but really think about, what is refuge? To Venerable Lamsel's question, why am I here? And to really not force the mind into something, but to see what bubbles up, like we do in discussion groups. Just let the mind figure out what would move it towards refuge, what would move it towards bodhicitta, etc. And one of the most helpful ways I have found, and again, I'm not saying anything new here, but is compassion. And, like coming to the four immeasurables and then just really sinking into compassion for myself, compassion for others, and then letting that, move the mind so that I can get some traction and direct it in a good way. And so I found that the best part of resistance is it's impermanent, and it does change. And it has been really helpful over these past several days to just look at it and think about what it is, how I can work with it. I've also thought that this is so interesting, this whole practice. As Venerable, you've said many times, like Dharma practice is so interesting when you're looking at what's arising in the mind and how do I work with it. And so two questions that came to mind are, what will come up today? Just asking myself, what's arising? What's going to come up? And then also, what will work to transform what comes up? And looking at those two things and really anchoring the practice there and not this elaborate schedule of topics, but just look at what is arising. And I really want to do that and really have a practice that's experiential and responsive to what's coming up. And just I'll end with just saying that what this has kind of led to is thinking about joyous effort, because this mental state of resistance is the opposite of joyous effort, and how a bodhisattva, a Buddha, has this mind that's totally open, totally receptive, has this energy to engage in virtue. And there's this kind of lightness. Shantideva has the analogy of thread that's blown by the breeze, like the mind moved by joy. So let's do that and really look and see what the mind needs at any given moment, and set aside the expectations, the rigidity.